If you've been spending time doing inner work practices, self-healing, and different modalities, and you feel like you're not really moving forward, there's a particular area you just don't seem to be able to let go of something or move past it or feel really healed or more complete around something, I'm going to give you a few pointers that might help you based on recurring patterns I see working with people. And of course, this channel, a lot of what it is for those of you who have been around the block a little bit and are looking to either go further or are plateauing and want to get some more nuance and guidance with your inner work practice. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here, let's kick it over here, is getting overly simplistic advice and then beating yourself up for, why can't I just do this thing? It sounds so simple. It seems like everyone else is doing it. Okay? And when you hear things like, just let go of it, just watch it, just be the observer, just be the witness, just move past it, just send it love, right? It's not, well, yeah, why don't you just do that? Here's what I'd like you to imagine. I'd like you to imagine giving a basketball to a 7 or 8-year-old child, or it doesn't even matter, it could be an adult, right? But especially someone without much prior context to it. And you say, well, how do you play basketball? Well, it's simple. You just put the ball in the basket. And in its essence, it is that simple, right? It's as simple as putting the ball in the basket. Maybe someone else is trying to stop you, but whatever, just put it in there. There's more to it. There's skill, there's a form, there's practice, there's ways to adjust, there's getting the feedback, there's nuance, right? And so a lot of advice is overly simplistic, and a lot of books are somewhat simplistic in their actual mechanics. They just sort of talk about why it's good to let go and why it's important to heal and how we need to move on. And everyone knows what you're supposed to say. Everyone knows we're supposed to try to heal and work on ourselves and talk to the inner child. But again, the advice itself is often overly simplistic. And you need to be kind to yourself to realize, yeah, someone is basically telling me to just do this thing without necessarily the guidance. And if someone told me just play this piano, I would say, well, I need a little more than that, right? So check and see if that's happening for you, if that's relevant to you. I find it often. This is right on the same page. Number 2, the lack of how-to. And a how-to is not just, again, not just put the ball in the basket and not just here's the form once, but here are ways you can practice step 1. Here are common places you can get stuck. Here are common adjustments. This is assuming you're not actually working with someone in a group or one-on-one, because that adds an extra layer of challenge. Remember, most people, which I don't think is for the best, are trying to do sort of fairly deep things within themselves based on the advice and books and videos and stuff because they sound simple. And so the how-to can often get lost, especially for what you might personally need. So just take a quick inventory and say, do I know how really to, for example, let go of something? Maybe there's some things you can, other things when they're sticky, when there's something going on. Do I have a process? Do I have a process that I understand and can repeat? It doesn't have to be rocket science at all. And they're not the processes that are good and work well. But there's still an understanding of, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is where to go next. This is what it can feel like. This is what it feels like in my body when something is tense. And this is what it feels like when I've reached a certain sort of resolution with it versus being in your head, which is very common challenge with this type of work. So check in with yourself, see if you need more how to explore, ask me, put it in the comments, how to on maybe a specific process. I'm always happy to do that, but I can also recommend different teachers, different courses, things I do. Okay, number 3, a lack of measurability, which is the ability to measure, right? The ability to say, okay, I'm a little bit better around this subject than I was a month ago. And this is so important because things tend to be looked at in a very black and white way. I find when I work with people on this, it's like, well, I haven't let go of that yet, meaning it's not 100% gone. Or if it's not 100% gone, there's a sense of I'm not doing it right or I'm not making any progress. When in reality, many things, especially if they're more deeply entrenched, require a bit of processing, a bit of what can feel like one step forward, two steps back, but having ways of saying, you know what? A week ago, when I talked to this person or I looked at my bank account, I couldn't even look at it. And now I can look at it, and yeah, I still don't feel happy. I still feel some triggered emotions and different things happening. But there are things I can look at and say, oh, I'm moving forward a little bit. And most importantly, that measurability is not purely based on external results, because things will go up and down, especially in this life. But having measurability that's based on your response, your feeling, your ability to navigate, right? Not that, oh, I did the process right or I let go, so therefore X, Y, or Z happened, which brings us to the final one, idealized expectations. This is huge. I can't tell you how many people they've followed a certain person, or they've read certain things, or they've interpreted things in a certain way. It's like, okay, well, the minute I let go of this, or if I've really moved on, then all this magic stuff is supposed to happen. If I really stop wanting it, then it's just supposed to flow to me in abundance. And there is obviously truth to that on a more nuanced level, but it's not so simplistic and it's not so idealized, right? It's not this, hey, I don't care about anything anymore. I don't care about money at all anymore. And then I look at my bank account and I'm a millionaire. Now that might sound a little silly, but if you closely examine what is often taking place with how you might be conceptualizing some of these processes and some of this work, right? Or, okay, I'm going to let go, or once I've healed from this past relationship, then it just doesn't bother me at all. I'm just totally confident, and I can think of this horrible relationship with my parents or something, and there's just, yeah, whatever. There's no charge there. I don't care. We don't need to go so extreme with it, right? There are many, many ways of healing and moving forward that are not perfect, and they don't need to be. And it doesn't need to be magic and fireworks in order to have an incredible life, right? And the more you idealize it, the more you feel like you're not there yet. The more you feel like, well, the fireworks aren't happening, or I'm not, I still have problems, quote unquote, in my life, or I still have these challenges. Therefore, I'm doing this wrong, because I have in my mind that once I've really got this, or once I really know who my true self is, right? If it's a more spiritual side, well, once I'm self-realized, then none of this stuff would be happening, and my body would be perfect, and my relationships would be perfect. Meanwhile, you don't even know if that's true about the people who are teaching this stuff to you, right? So the looking at what you expect to happen, what you're assuming is supposed to happen, and how idealized that is versus what the reality might be, which is, hey, it gets a little better, then it maybe a little step back, but I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward in my life, and I'm feeling actual release of energy. I'm feeling myself get a little more centered and grounded, and I'm still going to be a human being at the end of the day. It's not going to be just everything happens effortlessly necessarily, right? But these are some things that I hope will help you. Check to see if you've been given a lot of overly simplistic advice that you're beating yourself up for. Like, yeah, I still can't just let go of that. It's like, well, why should you be able to? Think about it. Examine what you've been getting, how you've been thinking about it. Do you have a clear how-to? Like, do you really know, okay, I can sit down, I can do this for an hour? Even a meditation process, right? There's different teachers of meditation. Sometimes people just tell you it's something overly simplistic. Others really give you some steps. And it's all that matters is what works for you, right? You need something that works for you. Lack of measurability and these idealized expectations, which is so huge and makes so many people think they're not moving forward or they're not healing because it's not looking like the image they have in their mind, which granted, that image in your mind has often been sold to you, right? So like I say here, these are not your fault. You're not doing it wrong. It's important to say not your fault, but it is sort of our responsibility to figure out on some level, what do we need to actually go forward here? So if you have questions, comments, things you'd like to expand on further, please leave them down below in the comments. Share this if you think this will be relevant to any fellow practitioners, anyone else on this path of learning how to let go, learning how to move forward. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks.